Oh, booger.
Today the sun's coming up around 7 something, and she's still sleeping, but finally wakes up around 2 o'clock. She just lays.
Whether you like it or not, you probably use figurative language in your everyday speech. Talking to friends, describing something to a teacher, or ordering at a burger joint, it is inevitable. And to define it is easy. Take the word figurative. It means representing by means of a figure or likeness. Then take language, and I think you know what language means. It's our means to communicate, to talk, any means necessary. Figurative language is using words to draw upon representative meaning, creating a likeness or image. This language is meant to be taken figuratively, not literally or word for word. The 5 most common uses of figurative language are hyperbole, personification, metaphor, simile, and symbolism. There are many more, but for today let's stick to the basics. Also, for our purposes, let's use this poem I found on the floor in the teacher's lounge. It is entitled The Fair Fox of Boston. It begins, Fair fox, full of grief, sailed away from the Boston shore. She wept, oh my, for hours and hours, oh my, weeping, oh her grief. It is a leaky faucet. It is like a pouring shower, and her ship begins to weigh down. She is sinking, but the wind carries her tears away. The breeze is cool and relaxing, and the fair fox is happy. The boat is now fully afloat, and her grief gown gone. Oh my. Honestly, this poem is better than any Robert Frost poem I have ever read, and you better think so yourself. I mean, seriously, I'm right? Yeah. Anyway, let's first explore hyperbole. Hyperbole, in a concise definition, is simply an exaggerated statement. In poetry, like all uses of figurative language, it is used to invoke an emotion and image. Now, in The Fair Fox of Boston, the use of repetition of, oh my, the statements hours and hours, and weeping oh her grief, are all exaggerations of our fair fox's emotion. The hyperbole creates an overly grievous emphasis on the sadness and shows the reader the extent to which it has become. In effect, the hyperbole of Fair Fox relates the reader to the emotion, whether or not you can emphasize with our poor fair fox. So the next time you exaggerate upon something, don't be surprised if someone asks, is that a hyperbole? Next up is personification. This means giving an inanimate object or abstract idea human traits and qualities. But in the poem at hand, or actually on your screen, the personification is the wind carries her tears, because it assumes that the wind is taking a human action. And that's that, literally, but figurative in the language sense. Okay, metaphor. This is some fancy Greek word that means directly comparing seemingly unrelated subjects with or without using the words like or as or than. In The Fair Fox of Boston, the metaphor is, it is a leaky faucet, taking the seemingly unrelated grief and leaky faucet and relating them. They are figuratively related in the sense that her grief acts as a leaking faucet, creating an image in the reader's mind. Literally, grief cannot be a faucet, but with metaphor, they can be considered alike. This is easy stuff, right? Alright, we only have 2 more devices to act upon. Simile. Just like metaphor, except it uses the words like, or as, or than to explicitly relate 2 subjects. Here, It is like a pouring shower is the simile, relating grief to a pouring shower, creating a figurative image. And last but not least, symbolism. Symbolism is using a representative figure to carry additional meaning. In the poem, the symbol used is the boat. Like the fox's grief, it sinks and floats as a representation of her grief. Essentially, the boat is her grief because they act together accordingly. This is a simple example, but symbolism can be complicated, intense, and sometimes too complicated. For the basics, this example will simply work. Well, for now, that's the gist of figurative language and the 5 main uses. Hopefully you will remember the fox, the examples, and not to be too scared when someone throws a fancy poetic term at you. Or perhaps you could toss around some of this figurative gist yourself.
Today, the sun's coming up around 7 something, and she's still sleeping, but finally wakes up around 2 o'clock. She just lays there dreaming, and she wakes up thinking of the two of us.